Welcome to On the Go with Hopscotch Air. With lockdowns ending and people wanting to escape their homes, we'll introduce you to some great Northeast vacation destinations. Jacalyn Kane is the founder of Vineyard Concierge, merging her love for the island with her unique experiences producing high-profile events. Jacalyn has created a first-class concierge service. She has a 20-year history of producing TV award shows and major events, and she is nice enough to spend a few minutes with us today. Thank you for joining us, Jacalyn.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
So tell me about how you started your concierge business. I always like to ask entrepreneurs how they take what they were doing before and create a business out of it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I returned to the island in 2013 from the West Coast, and I've been coming back and forth for years, and living here on and off for years. When I left the West Coast, I was a concert promoter, festival producer of large events, as you said, TV award shows, and decided to relocate back to Martha's Vineyard to be closer to family at the time. And so I just sort of sat down one day and said, okay, what's next? And given my experience with producing high profile events, as you said, just sort of listed everything, and it just kind of came to mind, well, this sounds like I could create a concierge business from this and have it be more private and personal, one-on-one with clients, as opposed to these large events, and sort of wanted to leave behind that sort of production that's so huge. So somehow just came up with a concierge. Let's create a concierge service and go from there. And it also seemed like it was a niche that at that time needed to be filled, and it wasn't really a household terminology at that point, but people thought of concierge as being at hotels. But it was just starting to emerge at that moment, and so I went from there. Yeah.
Boy, you could not have changed lifestyles more, I would say, going from Hollywood to Martha's Vineyard. I've been on the island a number of times. It's a completely different lifestyle. Talk to me about who your average customers are for the concierge service.
Sure. So actually, I have a lot of clients that do come from the West Coast, a lot of high profile clients, from celebrities to business people, both from San Francisco and Los Angeles. I also have a lot of clients that come from the South, and of course the Boston, DC, Connecticut, New York area, a lot from New York, of course. So these are people who, want to, especially now, get away and want to be in a house as opposed to being in a hotel. And the trend has increased, even more obviously in the last year for that. These are people who have busy lives like all of us do right now, which has been amplified since the pandemic. And, they just want to be able to get out, enjoy, be with their families, and they want somebody to take care of them and not have to do all that work that it takes. Sometimes, one person in the family ends up having to do that job, and it is a full-time job.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. I was thinking that possibly the pandemic was helpful to your business in different ways. I'm not sure if that's true, but what was last year like, and how is it coming back or changing this year?
So obviously, it created a lot of challenges for everybody's lives. In spite of that, what I found last year was, of course, in the beginning, people panicked, not sure if they should come or not. Some people did cancel. But by the time we got to mid-season last year, I think people realized, wow, this is the best way to take a vacation. Because at the time, it seemed like, well, Martha's Vineyard feels fairly safe and secure to come. But I think people in general were learning how to cope with the pandemic and the best ways to live with it. So that included, going to private homes, having private chef services, having us shop and stock the fridge for them before they arrive so they wouldn't have to go to the markets. So we actually had a boom. And I hate to say, Yeah, because of the spite, I'd say in spite of the pandemic, I wouldn't say that it helped us, but I'd say in spite of it, we have thrived, and thank God. And then this season, even more so. Yeah.
So one of the things you do is you create personal vacation experiences for people. Take us through that process with a new client. Somebody reaches out to you. How do you begin asking them, what do they want to do? Where do they want to stay? And do you have to fill in the blanks a lot for them? Someone specifically not familiar maybe with Martha's Vineyard.
Yes, I think it's mixed. So, 50-50 maybe, that have been here before or know about the island. But the island, it is complex because it's an island. So planning is a little more intricate, and you do have to plan ahead. Some people realize this and some people don't. If they're lucky enough to realize it in advance, then they could use services that will assist them. And I would say plan ahead, plan ahead, plan ahead. But back to your question. So when someone reaches out and let's say they've never been here before, we usually, by the time they've contacted me, they've already secured a home, because securing a home is not what we do. That we leave to the great realtors here. And that's complex in itself because things do book up way in advance. And so that is also through the roof right now, as are hotels and so on. But by the time they contact me, they have that. So I ask them if they've been here before, and if not, I might share with them a little bit about the island and what would they enjoy. Are they coming with family? Are they coming with friends? What type of activities? And most of the time they're finding us, so they know that we specialize in private chef services. They'll find us through our website or a referral from a realtor, or otherwise. And they want private chef services. So I would say most customers, clients, do know what they want to some degree, and then they ask us to fill it in. What other activities can we do while we're there besides the shop and stock pre-arrival, and besides the private chef services? They might want dinner reservations. They'll want to know where to go, what especially now, what restaurants are providing outdoor accommodations for them. Can they go fishing? Can they go sailing? They want to be out and about. They want to be outside. They want to hike. They want to go biking. So we secure bikes for the week is a biggie. We do signature raw bars. Again, that's all outside in their backyard. So there are experiences that are unique that they can have right there at their vacation home or in the vicinity. So we talk about, we provide to them the beautiful trails, and highly recommend that they download the MV Trails app, because there's these hidden gems that even people that live here don't know about and wouldn't expect, that the topography is so different. Each town is so different. Unlike Nantucket, which has one main town, we have a fishing village. We have, the boutiques
Great
and
point.
the galleries, that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, great point. You think of Martha's Vineyard as just an island in one town, but there are many towns with all different personalities in those towns. Some of that also, that for people vacationing, they may want to, take in the history of Martha's Vineyard, and see some of the museums. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I've actually had an up, in that people want that, exactly that. So one of the great ones that I seem to be booking a lot lately for people, as well as groups. I've had high school groups come, but have clients today going on the Heritage African American Heritage Trail Tour, which is fabulous. So they'll do that today, and they could choose from 2 hours or 3 hours. They're doing 2 hours. It ends up at the Inkwell Beach, which is pretty famous. The community here was pre-planned so long ago to be community-minded in Oak Bluffs, which is where I live. And there's so much history here. And then you also have in Edgartown, there's a ghost tour of the captain's houses, and the widows, walk where they would look out for the captains to come back. We don't have the whaling museum here like they have in Nantucket, but there were sailors and
it was a big whaling community.
Were on the Essex, so that story, but better told by people from Nantucket. But we have a beautiful new museum. So it's been around for a long time, the Martha's Vineyard Museum, but it moved locations a couple of years ago, and they finished the renovations. It used to be an old Marine hospital from World War I.
Hmm.
And it looks out to sea. And they've just done such an amazing job. So that is a must see. And for those of you that think, that must be boring, it is so not boring. And it's very active. And there's shipwrecks and there's artists that you may or may not have known of that actually show at the Met in New York, but just amazing history here. So you get to see all of that. And then they also do interactive events and so on.
I'm struck at how different Nantucket is from Martha's Vineyard. That's my perception as a non-resident, as someone not from Massachusetts either. It is just a different clientele, if you will, and a different experience.
That's a really good question about different clientele. I would say that it is somewhat. And it is very different. And we do have clients where we plan a day trip for them. They'll go over for the day and take the High Line, which is lovely. And I've done it for weddings that we've produced there, because we also do produce intimate weddings. And so yes, Nantucket is lovely, but completely different. It's cobblestone streets. It has a lot of history as well. It's further out in the ocean, but yet it does have a healthy year-round residency, people that live there year-round. But it's one town that you could get off the ferry, go for lunch and walk around, jam-packed with boutiques after boutique and restaurants, and, also an amazing museum, the Whaling Museum, and lovely business, but it's all kind of in one location. You could pretty much walk it. And then a little further out, some places you would need a taxi or what have you, but you can get by without a car, which here you can too, but then you can't explore as well. But it's just that one main town. I think a lot of people that go there, which I always interesting, of course, is a lot of Bostonians and a lot of people in government. Of course, you have that here too. It's an enclave for Democratic politicians and people that work in civil service. But
the former president obviously just had his birthday party there.
Yes, and then of course Clinton also spent his time here.
Spends time in Martha's Vineyard. So it is an island. It can be a little bit challenging to get to. You have a very big airport. Talk about some of the ways people travel to the vineyard.
What we're seeing is a lot more private jets coming in. That's a big trend because it is difficult to get here. Mm-hmm. So if you can go that route, that's really the way to go if you can. The airport is not that large, but it does. So it's actually pretty convenient because it's just one main terminal, and then you have your private plane office and gate that is, but it's very compact, so it's easy. But we have jets flying in from all over the world, so obviously it can accommodate that. But yes, it is complicated to get here. So you can, the other way, of course, would be, the only other way would be by ferry. So you either fly, by ferry, or you take boat. A boat. Yeah. You take your own boat, or you take the ferry. There are different ferries. There's the fast ferries from Rhode Island. There's Hyannis. But most people will drive to Woods Hole, which is on the Cape, Falmouth. Mm-hmm. And take the ferry from there, where they can try to take their car across. But again, it's a matter of reservations way in advance. And that has become very challenging. It always has been, but even more so now. So that's why flying in is best. Yeah.
Obviously, you're largely a summer business, I would think, but there's got to be also winter people coming in the winter.
Yes, so primarily we are seasonal, which is usually May through October. I have to say that with the pandemic, it's actually extended, because what we have found that a lot of homeowners that have vacation homes chose to stay during the pandemic, and many people moved up here from DC and New York, probably Boston as well. And so people did stay. So we did see more of a demand for concierge services through the winter, especially through Thanksgiving and Christmas time. And it really is lovely, pandemic aside, to be here that time of year. because they do a great Christmas in Edgartown. And Thanksgiving is known as being actually, I think, the only time, and I don't know that it happened last year, that the passenger walk, because you can walk on without a car, and you don't need a reservation for that, but it actually sold out some years ago. So Thanksgiving, it's family, you know, and that's the other thing that I'm seeing a lot of this year with my clients is all these family reunions. And so instead of maybe just some family in June and then friends sharing a house, a lot of family reunions in larger homes that can accommodate that so that family can be together again.
Okay, Jackie, tell us how people can contact you.
Sure. So they can go to my website, which people often start there. So it's myvineyardconcierge.com, or they can call us directly. But the phone number is on the website. So yeah, that probably is the best place to start. They can email Jackie at myvineyardconcierge.com.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're terrific. No, you're great. And that's On the Go with Hopscotch Air. I'm Andrew Schmertz.